How many lessons can we learn from wolves? Some of you guys know I own a company called Wolf 21, focused on sleep and health and wellness. But something inspiring about Wolf 21, who was introduced into Yellowstone and formed what's known as the Druid Pack, is his perseverance. He was very different than other wolves, as described by people who studied him. His father was killed early, but despite the hardship, he grew into one of the most respected alphas and lived this full life, a really full life. Where wolves die young, he died old. Now, what does this have to do with our connection with God? It's everything. It's everything. Perseverance produces maturity. James 1:2-4 says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." I could tell you from experience throughout my life, it wasn't complete. It still isn't complete. It's ongoing, by the way. Now, Wolf 21 and the significance of his perseverance is he fought and won many battles to defend his territory, surviving injuries in an old age longer than most wolves of his era. But he didn't do so by bullying tactics. In fact, he united rival packs. He didn't destroy rivals. He often absorbed lone wolves and splinter groups into his own. Unlike many alphas who rule by aggression, he was known for rarely killing defeated rivals. He showed mercy, allowing them to live and sometimes even join his pack. At one point, he had 2 different dens, and one of the females had killed the other, where in typical wolf fashion, they would abandon a den. He consolidated the den, and he formed a partnership. You know, often when we go through difficult times, we grow weary. We feel defeated, and it's hard for us to get up. I shared this Facebook story on my Instagram at Mike Glover Actual, and I can't watch it without the emotion of the difficulties I'm going through as a father rising to the surface. It was an interview with a homeless man who looks and appears to be my age, who's been homeless since he lost his 5.5-year-old son. I don't know the exact specific circumstance of how he lost his son, but he did. He didn't lose him to death, but it almost is worse than death when you lose someone who's alive and they're removed from your life forever, especially your children. And he said he was homeless and he tried to get a job. And then the interviewer asked him, if you had 3 wishes, what would they be? And he says, I only want one. I want my son back. We often grow so weary, we forget how to operate. We forget how to move, how to function, how to breathe even under duress. Galatians 6:9 says, do not grow weary. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. It's the cycle of life. It's the highs and lows. It's the lull in the gunfight where you're wondering how you're going to get through. And that lull is designed to reinforce your faith. So when it kicks off again, you're more successful. Something to note about Wolf 21 that I often talk about as related to my family, my circumstance, is this idea of endurance, of enduring suffering and pain. Through endurance, we conquer. was Ernest Shackleton's family motto, especially after the difficult expedition in 1917, where he survived a very long time with his men on an ice cap with no hope for survival. Wolf 21 had the endurance. He lived to be 9 years old, long past the average lifespan of a wild wolf, and died peacefully. They found him in his collar, laying underneath a tree overlooking the valley. We all could hope for such a full life and dying in peace. But that's not just a prospect. That's something that's part of God's design. And if you follow the protocol and the path for you, maybe that's the full life that you're intended to live. Don't cut yourself short because of the difficulties you're going through. Over his lifetime, Wolf 21 and 42, his spouse, raised dozens of pups, many of whom became alphas themselves. Scientists and wildlife watchers often point to him as a model of what leadership can look like because he had strength, balance with patience, mercy, and most significantly, perseverance. Wolf 21 was one of Yellowstone's most legendary alpha wolves. Unlike many who led with aggression, he was full of strength and endurance and tempered by restraint. His pack, his druid pack, his family that he led was powerful because of that leadership. If you're disconnected, disaffected, you have the ability to do this on your own. Many men that I know check out because they're like, it's too far gone. It's never too far gone. There's always hope. As he was outcasted as a wolf, he had to seek and build his own family, his own pack. And that's very significant. In Hebrews 12, 1 through 2, it says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that is easily entangled. And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and the perfecter of faith. When you narrowly focus on the point, on the focal point that is Jesus, that is Christ, that is God through your faith, then everything is clear, concise, and your mission is very specific. You don't have to wander. And so no matter what you're going through, deviating off your path, falling in the low points of this life, which are certainly bound to happen, you understand when you crawl out of that hole and you seek the higher ground, when you look out on the horizon, what that objective is. We don't need to lose sight and focus in our faith. And ultimately, that leads to more refined and optimized experiences in life, and also leads to better endurance. Through endurance, we conquer. We, me, you, my family, your families, that's how we overcome. Wolf 21 didn't just survive, but he led his pack with strength and faithfulness. In Scripture, it reminds us that perseverance is not passive. It's active, purposeful, and tied to God's plan for our growth, meaning you wake up and you instill that into your life. You don't let it run automatically on autopilot, because that's not the protocol. That will get you flown into a mountain, not through the mountain pass, because you're paying attention. Like Wolf 21, we are called to endure with purpose. Through perseverance, we mature, we lead, and we glorify God by not giving up, especially when the race gets too hard. I understand a lot of you are going through difficult times like I am. That is part of the plan. And just like Wolf 21 had to overcome so many odds, he lived that life as designed by God. And that's all we could hope and pray for. The light will be at the end of the tunnel. I appreciate you guys. God bless. I'm going to go enjoy the Tetons with my family, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.